Good afternoon, everybody. Wait, good evening, everybody. My name is Kartik. I'm one of the co-founders of ETHGlobal, and welcome to ETHGlobal Paris. This is not a conference. If you've been to our events before, you may know that ETHGlobal is known for one thing. Our goal is to get thousands of developers into the Web3 ecosystem. And we do this by running hackathons and summit, which makes this whole weekend a hackathon. What differentiates this from a conference? Well, our focus is on builders. And not only that, this is a place for you to learn, get help, and just grow as amazing designers, product people, and engineers. And we strongly believe that showing is way more important than telling, which is why, come Sunday, you're not allowed to just talk about what you did, you have to show us what you actually built. And we've been doing this since 2017. It started all in ETH Waterloo in Canada, almost 6 years ago, and we've gone across the world to all different continents and done this to get over 70,000 people into this space. And not only that, the best thing about all of this is that we're finally excited to be back after all these years in Paris. 4 years later, we're back doing our hackathon with 1,400 of you in this building. That's incredible. Give yourself a massive round of applause. Out of these 1,400, 960 are hackers from 67 different countries, and 22% of them are new to Web3. This is the lowest we've ever had. There's a lot of people here in Paris that are in this space, and we are excited to do one event where we have so many people who've been part of this ecosystem for so many years. So this is a massive reunion for all of us, and for the other 88%, this is where you're from, 78%. All of you are from different parts of the world, but of course, it shouldn't be surprising to us that Europe has a very special presence here. So many people from so many countries and cities. So we're excited to meet all of you and reunite with some of you we haven't seen in years. And on top of all those hackers, we have 270 ecosystem builders. These are all of our amazing partners, the engineers, the managers, the product people, the designers, the founders. All of them are here in this building, willing to talk to you about everything that they're excited about, everything you're excited about, and 40 dedicated technical mentors, which means if you're stuck, you can find somebody to help you with anything with your code or your thought process or your architecture or anything in between, whether at 2 p.m. or at 2 a.m. or at 4 a.m. or any time from today till Sunday morning. And because this is not a hackathon or conference, I am tired today. I'll reset. Give me a sec. Because this is not a conference, 34 workshops, and no talks. All these workshops has already happened all throughout today, and you can see the best part of this, which is $500,000 in prizes are going to be given away this entire weekend. So I hope all of you are excited. We have 41 incredible partners that are giving away all these prizes. So I'm going to have you continue clapping, and the faster you clap, the faster I'll say all of their amazing names. So let's start with Laplace FinTech, OneInch, Gnosis Chain, Filecoin, Maker, MetaMask, Mina, Polygon, Wallet Connect, WorldCoin, Airstack, Apecoin, Biconomy, Cartesi, Celo, Chainlink, EAS, Ethereum Foundation, Hyperlane, Mantle, Mass, Near, Neon EVM Save, Sysmo, Starknet, The Graph, UMA, Unlimit, XMTP, ZK Sync, ZK Bob, Zeta Chain, Aragon, XLR, DFNS, Flashboss, Late Protocol, NounsDAO, Push Protocol, and QuickNode. All of these amazing companies are going to be giving amazing prizes, and you can hear about all of this very soon. But let's talk about this weekend. The goal here is I want to spend the next 10 minutes covering all the important things that you need to know for how to structure your time and how everything's going to work until Sunday. And that means we're going to cover everything about this venue, how you can get help, all the prizes, all the talks and workshops, team formation stuff. A lot of you are still looking to form teams, and of course, how judging works. Most important note before we get started, do not use Wi-Fi hotspots. This happens every time, so I have to now include this in all of our slides. If you turn on your hotspot because the internet is not performing in that corner, turning on that hotspot interferes with the internet itself, so you make it worse for everybody around you in that area. We have dedicated technicians here that are monitoring and actually tracking what the Wi-Fi access looks like in every given spot. So if you see something is not working, or it's a dead spot, or it's just too slow, message us in Discord where you are so we can just send somebody to immediately correct this. We've already spotted a few places, and we've added more access points in the last few hours. We just need to know what other spots are uncovered. So just turn off your hotspots and just let us know where things are. And we'll get to fixing all of these things immediately. Now we're done with that. Let's talk about security. All attendees must wear their wristbands and their event badges. This is a private event, which means that we have security at the doors, especially as we lead into the night. We will be closing down ways for you to enter, so without a wristband, you cannot come into the building. The policy is very simple. No wristbands equals no entry. If you forgot something and you didn't have your wristband on and you were trying to get back in, this would be applicable to you too. At 10 p.m., we're going to close the registration desk, which means without the wristband, you cannot come in or check in until tomorrow morning. And if you lose the wristband, we will not be reissuing it for you. So make sure that you do not take that off or you do not lose it. And do not leave your belongings unattended. We're not responsible for anything lost or stolen items, so please keep your valuables with you. We'll do our best to make sure that people who are not allowed to be in the building are not in the building, but do not go home with your laptop on the table, and keep everything that you value in check and with you at all times. Let's talk about the venue and activities. So we're here on the basement floor. This is the auditorium. This is where we are today. This is also where we're going to be back on Sunday for the final closing ceremonies. There's a lot of hackers here that you can, there's a lot of hacking areas here, so you can have a couple hundred of you also sit down. There's also food being served on this floor if you were hacking from this side. And then we'll go up to the next floor, which is the ground floor where you came in through the registration. That's the biggest hacker area. That's also where all of our partners are. That's also where food and catering is for all of you. And if you want to present to all of your partners on Sunday for the demos, this is where you're going to be on Sunday, lining up and talking to all of our partners. And then on top, we have a third upper floor. That is where a lot of the workshops were today. And also, there's a lot of hacking spots there and a couple of lounges. You can check out the Nouns Now Lounge or the Cartesi Recharge Station. You get a massage, hang out with a lot of things happening with a lot of people there, and just take some time to relax. Then we also have some amazing late night stacks. So we're going to be doing crepes and macarons tonight at midnight and also tomorrow. And today will be crepes. So come back here in the catering area and you can have some really cool, sweet stuff. There's also a selfie booth up on the top floor. It also prints the photos in front of you, so it's not just digital. So take advantage of that, get a photo with your team, and get a memorabilia for you being a part of this hackathon. And most important part, one swag item that we left outside intentionally, this is everybody's personal coffee press. You'll be able to get this and pick this up on the registration tomorrow. Just come with your badge, so we'll scan your ticket again, and anybody who has not picked this up will be able to collect this, so you get to add this to your, to your swag bag collection. This is the thing that gets the clap. Amazing, of course. All right, let's talk about communication. Everything is going to be on Discord, which means if something is not happening on schedule, if something is happening ahead of schedule, if something changes, if something doesn't change, whatever it is, we're going to send that message first on Discord and then walk around and tell everybody about it. There's also a PA system in this building, so we'll be announcing it too. But if you miss something, you can just go on Discord and just check what the last announcement was. Discord is also only open to attendees that are RSVP'd. All the permissions will be given to you automatically from your Hacker dashboard. And everything else is going to be on the website. The website is the source of truth, which means that if something is listed on the website, whether it's the time for a schedule or who's coming or what's going to happen and who's going to be giving a talk or anything else, whatever it says is what's actually happening. If something changes, we update the website first, then we update Discord, and then we tell everybody. And to make it easy for you, you can just head over to ETHGlobal.com/Paris to find all the details. And let's remember, you're all here in person. Talk to each other. There's a lot of people here who are from different parts of the world, a lot of people who are trying to meet all the amazing other developers and founders to see what they're up to and what they're excited about. You get to just go do that. And if you're stuck on something and you really can't get something to work, just shout, and I'm sure somebody will be able to help you with whatever bug you're facing. So let's talk about how the hackathon works. Officially, hacking has started. You can start working on your projects, and you can work on a project with up to 5 members. You don't have to work with people on a team. If you want to do something solo, that is totally okay. But given the time you have this weekend, it's just a lot easier if you have help. You have the next 36 hours to hack, and submissions are due at 9 a.m. on Sunday. So this gives you enough time to make sure that you get to test things out, you get to get any feedback, you get to get any help. And also, please make sure that you get some rest. Do not sacrifice your personal health or sleep to build something. The rules and criteria are also very straightforward. Everything that you're doing this weekend must be done from scratch, which means you cannot extend or build on top of an existing personal project. We want to make sure that this is fair for everybody who's participating. So whatever you're doing, you cannot start working on it. You cannot have coded this before today. And only RSVP'd hackers are eligible to win prizes, which means that if you have a team and they were added months ago and one of them forgot to actually come or sign up, they will automatically be removed tomorrow from your teams if they were not checked in. And you have to really make sure that if you're working with a team and they were not listed as your team members at the time of submission or any time before that, that if you win a prize, we will not be sharing that prize with the rest of your team members. It will only be given to people who are listed at the time of the submission. And if you have any other questions or if there's any other edge cases or anything else we missed, just ask anybody on the ETHGlobal team, come find us, come send an email, send us a Discord message. We're monitoring all those things, and we'll be happy to clarify everything for you. And of course, there's a lot of content for so many of you here, whether you're a beginner or an expert or been in this space for years. We're talking about all the themes that we're excited about. We're talking about all the things that we think are ready to be productized. All that is what the goal of the workshops was, and that information is also on your dashboards, and everything was recorded in live stream, which means that if you came in late today and you missed a workshop that you were excited about, you can go to ethglobal.tv and simply click on any of those rooms and watch and rewind and pause and zoom in on anything that you want to see that any of our workshops were about. And the best thing is that all those people are still in the building, so if you have any follow-up questions for any of those speakers, go find them and ask the questions directly at their booth. And if you are still looking for a team, or you're looking for somebody to join your team, we're going to be doing the workshop right here after I stop talking for you to actually meet each other and find more team members and potentially get started on a project. So just stay in this room after the ceremony ends, and a lot of you will be able to meet other potential teammates. And a quick note on mentorship. We're going to make it very easy. If you see someone in this jacket, they're a mentor. If you need help, flag a person and ask them any questions that you have. They'll be taking shifts, so you can find them at any time of the day. All of them are here, but they're also on the website. They're also listed as mentors on your dashboard. You can see who they are. You can see when they're going to be available. But they're also wearing these jackets. Some of them are right behind me. Some of them are in the first few rows. They'll be very easy to spot. We wanted to make sure that happens. But let's talk about the most important thing, and that is judging and everything about submissions. Submissions are due at 9 a.m. this Sunday. And when you submit, there's going to be two choices you're going to be given. There's a main judging and a partner judging. Both of these are happening at the same time. This is a parallel thing, so you have to really pay attention here for the next 60 seconds. 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. These 3 hours, both of these things are going to happen at the same time. What is the difference? Main judging is if you want to be part of the top 10 team for this hackathon. But you also want to win any of our partner prizes. If you opt in on your dashboard to just do partner judging, you are only opting in to win partner prizes and nothing else. That's fairly straightforward on the difference between the two, but this is what it means if you are trying to do partner judging. You have to specify what projects and what partners and what companies you want to qualify for. And you get to do that as you are submitting your project. After you press submit, the partner will get a notification, and they will know that they need to expect you or to review your submission. Then you get to also go to their booth and present to them what you built at their tables. This is simple if you are doing partner judging, because you go to any of those partners and show them what you built. But if you also selected, I want to do main judging, which means you are doing main judging and partner judging, you have to also go upstairs and present to one of our main judges and then go to the partners. So that means you have to manage your time, and you have to be really mindful of how you are structuring everything on Sunday. The good news is that this is asynchronous, and it can be done out of order. You can go to the partners first and then go upstairs. It's first come, first serve. You can go upstairs first, and you can come to the partners. Doesn't matter what the order is. If you see there's a big lineup, great, do the other thing, come back. And as long as you're doing that in the window, you should be good. The other key thing to know is partners will look at your live demo as a nice to have, not what they're going to be judging everything on, which means the most amount of information that they have is what you put in your submission. So make sure you put a good description, make sure you talk about how it works, put good screenshots about everything. If you manage to record a demo video just in case something goes wrong, do that, upload all of that, which means it's going to take you some time. And you really want to put that there because what they're going to look at is all they're going to see, and that's how they're going to decide. If you have any questions on this, come find me. I'll be happy to clarify. But let's go into the judging rules. You have 4 minutes to demo when you are going to go to a judge. That means you have 4 minutes inclusive to talk about why you built it, who you are, show a demo, and everything about what it is. And we recommend that you also record a video in case something goes wrong. You don't need to have a video, but it's just recommended. And really, really, really do not do this last minute. You will need a lot of time to put in all the descriptions. You have to actually specify how you're using different protocols. You have to do some work on the screenshots and everything about what your project is. All these things matter because this is the most information you can give somebody to make your lives easier and help you actually win some of those prizes. And all that is also done entirely on your dashboard. Tomorrow morning, that interface will go live and will be visible to you, which means that you can see everything that you need to do tomorrow, and then you get to actually fill those things on Sunday. So don't worry, you don't have to memorize any of these things. All of this is visible on your dashboard. The short of it is make the submission good. If that's one takeaway that you can take from all of this is make it really good so that your showcase page has all the context that anybody needs. That's pretty much it on the judging and submissions. All that is also on the info center, and you'll also get an email about all this stuff. We're going to make sure we bombard you with a lot of information about all these things, so don't worry too much. And lastly, I want to talk about our code of conduct. This is an in-person event, and as part of that, our rules and our code of conduct applies. You can check out everything on ethglobal.com/rules. The gist of it is, please be respectful, and harassment and abuse will not be tolerated in any form. So if you see anybody being treated the way they shouldn't be, come tell us, we'll take immediate action. And also, anything that you build here is solely going to be owned by you, and equally by anybody on your team. So you retain all the IP rights, and no partner, ETHGlobal, or anybody else does not have any ownership of any of your work. So you get to enjoy everything and benefit from anything you want to do with it in the future. That's everything on the logistics. We have a couple of other things that we want to talk about, and also want to get to the prizes soon. But before that, I want to bring on some of our amazing partners to really tell you what they're being excited about and why you should kind of hear them and see if you also share some of their same values. So I want to bring on our very first partner for this weekend. It's Guillaume from Laplace FinTech. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Guillaume. I'm the director of Laplace FinTech DeFi, but what is Laplace FinTech DeFi? So we are an investment hub situated right here on the second floor during the whole year, and we are based mostly for communities. So that means like we're bringing together like investors, private investors mostly, VCs, business angels, and also corporates here in Paris, like Crédit Agricole, to help and build communities and also projects for startups. We are not an incubator and we are not an accelerator. That's why I mentioned that we are mostly the community build that brings your project where you want to be it. So the thing is like we are mostly based here in Paris, and we have the possibility and the act that we are in Paris for today, but mostly we go global in the future. That's why we are building everything with our partners, especially thanks a lot to ETHGlobal to give us the opportunity to talk today about our project. And we also have a booth here, so if you want to have more information about the investment hub, just feel free and come to visit us and to have more infos. Thank you very much.
Amazing, thank you. For us, anytime we do an event, we want to make sure we get to involve a local community and just actually have a presence in that city. So you get to do that with everything that's happening in Paris. All right, next up, I want to bring on Jenks from Filecoin. Please give him a big round of applause.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jenks. I'm a developer advocate for Filecoin Foundation. Today, I stand before you. Wow, feels good to say that on stage. I stand before you to bring you a challenge. A really wise man once told me that hackers do not come to hackathons for prizes. They come for a fascinating challenge. And the challenge I gave you, the community gives you, is called DWeb it. We hope that you can use the listed technologies here to further decentralize your application. In case you're not that kind of a hacker, we also brought prizes. So the top 3 teams will receive 3,500 each. And for the 2 teams that had the best uses of FEM with Bacalhau will receive 2,500 each. And we also are going to choose 6 lucky runner-up teams. So a little bit about the technology. IPFS is the largest peer-to-peer file transfer protocol. It is also a lively network of thousands of nodes that helps to transfer file requests. We also have very busy gateways that handles hundreds of requests, hundreds of millions of requests every day. Filecoin is the largest enterprise-ready internet-scale enterprise storage network. Think of it as an Airbnb for hard drives. It is going to power the next internet. You already know that. You're very experienced hackers for ETHGlobal. So we're bringing you something new. So some of you might not know that we have a virtual machine recently built. It is EVM compatible, so you can use the tools that you're already familiar with to build something like a data DAO, Dataverse, or storage marketplace, and DeFi protocols. We also have compute project. Bacalhau and Lilypad provides decentralized compute, so you can build AL, MI, or DeFi projects on top of that. So for hackers that couldn't wait to start, please scan these QR codes and get to know about these projects and how that can decentralize your application. A wiser man once told me that innovation, the idea of innovation is about putting 2 ideas together to create a new one. In cognitive science, this is called blending. And we hope that with the primitives, tools, and products that we provide, you can create something new. And my name is James. I'll be here for whole night. Come and talk to me about our prices.
Awesome. Thank you. Next up, I want to bring on Dao Sasha to talk about 1inch. Please welcome her on stage.
Hey, hey, hey. Hello, guys. So I survived from the ACC week. Tell me, hey, if you are survived and you want to listen something about 1inch. So raise your hand if you at least hack on the Ethereum Global Hackathons once. Show me your hands. All right, so raise your hands if you are newbies. Okay, I can feel, well, it's amazing because I want to tell you something about 1inch. Actually, bonjour Paris. I was actually learning this, I have to tell you this. Now let's go to the 1inch. 1inch is the project who was born in Ethereum Global Hackathon back in 2019. And we are actually happy to support with lots of gratefulness to ETHGlobal. We want the project to be successful as we are. And that's why we're actually here. So just hack and build. Some numbers about 1inch and where we are today. We are covering 65% of aggregation market share. We have 70% of limit orders market share, over 350 billion total volume, 4.5 million total unique wallets. We have 150 beautiful contributors around the globe. And we raised over 190 million to develop the best DeFi solutions, to do the user experience that you guys love. And that's it about the 1inch. I guess if you want to learn more, come to our booth. But rather than that, we have also a big community of builders. And we want to invite you to join our builders community. And this is challenge that we have for this hackathon. Recently, actually last year, we released the Fusion mode. And maybe today you heard the workshop from our backend lead, Nick. This is actually bounty that we have for the Fusion mode. If you have any questions, come to Nick, come to booth, go to Discord. We're happy to answer your question, and you have more information about the Fusion mode on our dev portal. And about next thing. In the Ethereum Global, our co-founder, Anton Bukov, actually released the token plugins. It's a really innovative solution. You can check the presentation on their YouTube, but what we want to hear here, it's maybe you have some innovative ideas which could build on top of 1inch smart contracts, and here are the bounties. We're really curious, be creative. Third, my favorite track is an open track, but this year and this hackathon, we actually decided to be more focused on the developer portal and also on token plugins. So you can go to check what we released on token plugins, also go to the developer portal and see what is it, and maybe you have some ideas on how and in which way you can do something within the information that they placed on dev portal and token plugins. Let's build to change and innovate. Thank you a lot. Here is the QR code with the bold bounties. Thank you a lot, and success on the hacking.
Amazing. It's one of my favorite moments when somebody comes on and they started by building a hackathon project for fun. So it's really awesome to see Juan and Cheer yet again. Next up, I want to call up Philip to talk about Gnosis Chain. Please welcome him on stage.
Thank you. Hi. So, quick words about Gnosis Chain. Hopefully you've heard about us before. So we are a layer 1 EVM that is based on Ethereum. Okay. So we have the same layout, which is a beacon chain and an execution layer. And we're actually quite committed to credible neutrality and resilience, which means that we have client diversity, of course, like Ethereum. So we have the main same clients on the consensus layer side and on the execution layer side as well. We actually have over 140,000 validators right now, so you can easily validate, come join us. It's quite cheap actually, so it's fairly easy. We also have trust minimized bridges between our network, Gnosis Chain, and many others, including mainnet, of course, using ZK bridges and Hashi. So we've been around since 2018, which in crypto years is quite long actually. And it's run by the community, of course, with 140,000 validators. Right now, you can even create saves for free on Gnosis Chain, so that's a great opportunity to try that technology as well. So we have over $2 billion USD worth of application and infrastructure built on top of Gnosis Chain. So of course, safe. Hopefully, you know about it. But as well, also Fuel, Succinct, POAP, which when attending conferences, you should also know about, hopefully, as well as CowSwap. And announced Monday, actually, Gnosis Pay, which is a Visa card, but it is self-custodial. So it's actually the first decentralized payment network. So we're very excited about this. Come to our booth, ask questions. Yeah, thanks for listening, and happy hacking.
Awesome. Thank you, Gnosis Chain. All right, next up, I want to bring on Francesco to talk about MetaMask and Linnea. Please welcome him on stage.
Cool. Thank you so much, Kartik. So, are we guys excited about ETHGlobal Paris? Hey, very well, very well. Cool, cool, cool. So, awesome TV here. So, hello, builders. Everybody's a builder here. So many designers, so many developers. Everybody is a builder. This is exactly why we are here. We are here for shift, inspire, and recognize. Your guys are part of a movement, right? We want to go to decentralization, but how we are doing that? We want to inspire and be inspired and speak with your peers, speak and inspire other people that are in other communities. And recognize yourself. Everybody is valuable, especially like after team formation, you can see and team up and speak really with a lot of people. 20K bounties. We're extremely proud of that. We're pushing really the bounty. Cool, cool. Yeah, some applause here. Cool. Based on that, this time, and this is not our first ETHGlobal Hackathon, hopefully like you see a lot of my colleagues around, we focused on two main challenges around Linnea, and yes, it's called Linnea, it's not Linnea, so make sure you remember that. So Linnea and MetaMask SDK, I will run a little bit through. I will not bore you. How many of you guys know what's Linnea? Cool, cool, cool. I see some raising hands. But yeah, we went a couple of days ago into mainnet. Whoa, this is cool. Good news, good news, good news. But anyway, on Linnea, whatever you're building and you want to deploy on Linnea, we are offering 3 winners for 6K for 3 winners. So anything that you think about, use case or vertical, you're more than happy to deploy. I will not go through the requirements, but important is that you're really targeting utility and fundability of whatever you're building. I will put a bunch of QR codes here if you guys want to get some girly ETH for testing. And we have some girly whales in our team, so make sure also you reach out to our booth or just ask in Discord, and we will come to your table. This QR code is quite cool because it's offering a bunch of infrastructure and tooling lists. So whatever you guys building and you think about, okay, those are the use case and verticals, here you can find a bunch of infos. They're actually quite useful, even if you're targeting other stuff. This is also an ecosystem portal. You can find a lot of open source and partners dApps already deployed on Linea. It's actually quite cool because you can see and get inspiration. And yeah, I definitely recommend to everybody to check this out. Our second Linea part, and this is actually for 2 winners on around 4K, is build an NFT indexer on Linea. This is quite self-extraordinary. So I think I have max 2 minutes. I will get a little bit quicker. This Linea documentation, I think, is quite straightforward. Make sure also you read full our documentation onboarding. That's also quite forward that we prepped a part actually for ETHGlobal Paris. And then MetaMask. Obviously, like this, we're not focusing on snaps this time, and we'll be ultra focused on SDK with 3 main verticals. How many of you guys are game developers or uni developers? Okay, cool. I see some hands. Sounds good. So this time, it's not just about NFT or gaming verticals, but we'll push also like DeFi and social verticals. And think about whatever you're thinking about. I think you can definitely like integrate fully the MetaMask in your dApp. Important, and this because we are receiving a lot of submission that has nothing to do with SDK, we will really check it out. So you need to call the npm install /SDK, and so it's not just a normal and easy EtherJS injection. Cool. So we'll not bore you with requirements. Just make sure you have an order repo, video record your dApp, push the 4-minute submission, and also in your repo we want to see a paris.txt with keep calm and love Paris. So you guys, we make sure that we are reading your submission. Cool. Here's a quick dev guide, also with some example. You can see both from like different verticals. It's actually quite useful if you want to target that. So I'm not alone. I'm here with like an army of like amazing colleagues, and feel free to raise your hand if you're not too shy. But definitely for the next 48 hours, you will get support. We will be at the booth 24/7, and both IRL in Discord. So make sure you say hi and come with a lot of bugs because we are ready to solve them all together. So whatever you're doing afterwards and whatever you're building, we're definitely here for supporting you. Obviously in the next ETHGlobal hackathons. And yeah, both with like, we also like launched a couple of weeks ago a full ambassador program for developers that want to actually build in the entire ecosystem, not just with our product. Always, if you want to inspire, you're an advocate of this ecosystem, make sure you reach out, and we will be able to empower you. Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you, builders, and keep focused and get some sleep, please. Cheers.
Thank you. All right, next up is Angus from MENA. Please welcome Angus on stage.
Bonsoir. Je m'appelle Monsieur Cornichon. My name is Angus, and I'm here to talk to you about MENA. MENA is a ZK-L1 blockchain. A lot of you here will have probably heard of ZK. It's all anyone's talking about. MENA is a blockchain that's built using ZK from the ground up to do everything. Now you can write zero-knowledge applications that run on MENA using just a TypeScript library, so you don't need to understand zero-knowledge cryptography. You can build ZK apps, build and define zero-knowledge proofs, verify them to build applications, all without a PhD in math. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a pickle costume. The recursion layer of MENA is called pickles. Recursion is super cool. So you can take a proof and use it as an input to create another proof. Or you can take 2 proofs and create a new proof out of those two. So when you can write TypeScript apps to create recursive proofs, you can do things like voting, games, or you can make something up that's really cool that we haven't even thought of yet. You can take proofs, you can pass them around, you can chain them together, you can roll them up, you can collapse them down. So recursion is really cool. We want you to build stuff. We have $200 of prizes. So first prize, if you build a ZK app and enter it for our prize track, you can win $8,000. Second prize, $6,000. Third prize, $4,000. And we have a $2,000 prize pool for people who build projects but don't win one of the top prizes if you build with Snarky.js, which is the TypeScript library. That's the end of the talk. Thanks very much to everyone at ETHGlobal. If you want to see us, come and see us at the booth. If you have any questions, we'll be on Discord and also around at the booth. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Next up, I want to bring on Derek from Wallet Connect. Please welcome him on stage.
Yo, what's up, ETHGlobal? How's it going? Yeah, my name's Derek. I'm CTO at Wallet Connect. A quick survey about the audience. Hands up if you think crypto UX is ultra awesome. Okay, weird. Yeah, so Wallet Connect, we are trying to make crypto UX awesome, like slowly getting there, and we have a couple of prizes and hackathon things themed towards this. We just did a big migration. If you're like a builder, which all of you are, and you have any questions, like come ask us. We're like a big team here. And our prizes, so we have a couple of new things going on. So I think we can all agree here that we want a lot of crypto users. The milestone that everybody talks about are 1 billion users. And right now, crypto is heavily happening on desktop. And obviously, that's not how we're going to get 1 billion users. So one of the prizes that we have that's catering to this is our Web3 modal native track. So basically, you build a native application using Web3 modal, so native crypto application. And we have a total of $20,000 in prizes. And you can get a $6,000 prize for Web3 modal native. Internally, we're sort of tracking what we call the flippening. Like when do we have more native crypto users than web crypto users? And yeah, excited to see when that's going to happen. Then we have also $6,000 for the innovation prize. So like the coolest application of Wallet Connect that you can come up with can get a chunk of the $6,000 prize. And we have a $3,000 prize for our Auth SDK. So what's the Auth SDK? Some of you might be familiar with signing with Ethereum. The idea is that when you connect your wallets, currently when you want to verify that you own an account, you have to do 2 steps. You have to connect the wallet and then also sign a message. And our Auth SDK makes it just 1 step, so an important UX improvement. So the best use of the Auth SDK can get a chunk of the $3,000 prize. Then we have a novel kind of prize, which is a redesign of our cloud app. So the designers of you can compete with that. The expected output is a Figma file, something like that. All the other prizes, we expect like code to be written. And then the last prize is a $2,000 pool prize, basically regular and conventional use of Wallet Connect modal. So yeah, the bad news to all of you is back in the past, you could qualify for pretty much all of our prizes with just orthodox usage of the Wallet Connect web modal, and those days unfortunately are over. So the bar is a bit higher. And yeah, if you have any questions, the entire team is here, and happy hacking.
Thank you, Derek. All right, we're down to a couple more to go. So I want to bring on next Tony from Polygon. Please welcome him on stage.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Orlando, and I'm from Polygon Labs. I'm in charge of the developer education team. So I just want everybody to take a deep breath in, out. You've made it. You made it to Paris. You made it here. You are either a hacker or you're here to help other builders or something of that sort. But at the end of the day, you are here to help other people be able to adopt blockchain. And my goal here tonight is just to make it very, very easy for you. I want you to actually go home with money. And I'm here to talk about very, very simply exactly how you could actually do that on Polygon. We have a very simple prize that is targeted at almost anyone. And using the Polygon ZK EVM, which is an EVM chain, you could simply submit a very innovative project. So what do you need to win? You just need creativity, and you need to be able to read documentation. That's all. So if you're creative and you could read documentation, you could definitely be in the running for the first prize, which is the Polygon ZK EVM prize. But let's say you want to be able to extend the Polygon ZK EVM, right? Well, we have the LXLY bridge, which is like our native bridge. And we are asking you to go on. We have code samples. We have everything you need to be able to look at that and figure out how you could actually extend the functionalities of ZK EVM. But lastly, I actually want to tell you the absolute easiest way for you to actually go home with the prize is if you build using Polygon ID and doc, right? So we have a very simple integration that allows you to be able to publish verifiable credentials on-chain using doc.io. It takes you 10 minutes to sign up. You have no reason not to take that money, right? So please, submit.
Thank you, Tony. Next up, I want to bring on Penrin to tell you everything about WorldCoin. Please welcome him on stage.
Hey everyone, I'm Penrin. I do developer relations at Tools for Humanity, supporting the WorldCoin ecosystem. So for those of you who haven't heard of WorldCoin before, we are creating the largest financial and identity network by giving its ownership to everyone. But as any of you who have ever tried to give away anything on the internet before are going to be asking right now, what about bots? We have this wonderful device called the Orb that we use to verify that you are a unique human in a completely privacy-preserving way. It takes a photo of your iris that it never has to store anywhere, calculates an iris code, and we can compare those to make sure that you're different from every other person who's ever signed up. On top of that, we have World ID, our proof of personhood protocol, which you can integrate into your app to have your users prove that they're a unique human, help with Sybil resistance, things like that. Really essential component of digital ID. But for us, we're not trying to prove which human you are, just that you're a unique human, only doing something once. You can access all of this through the World app. This is where your World ID lives. This is where you can use our fairly simple crypto wallet. And just last week, we hit 2 million verified humans. And since then, we're now up over 2,050,000. So that number is going up quite quickly, which is great. And we've seen a lot of different people building on World ID. So with what, like a year and a half now of us participating in these ETHGlobal hackathons, we've had over 1,400 developers and 350 distinct projects, also including ones outside of hackathons, build on World ID while it was in a private beta. We've had a lot of really cool use cases unlocked with World ID. And additionally, to support even more growth, we just finished our migration to Optimism yesterday. So if any of you were at Pragma, you probably heard about that. And now, instead of just being able to verify proofs from World ID on Polygon, you can verify them on Mainnet, Optimism, and Polygon. So for us, making this available on as many chains as possible is a really important thing to us, and this is a huge step in making that possible. And also, after 3 years of building, we have finally made World ID publicly available for everyone who wants to build on it. There's no longer a wait list. Which is super exciting for us. It's been a long time in the coming, and very, very happy to reach this milestone. So if you want to learn more about how to use World ID and the SDK, you can go to id.worldcoin.org. That'll take you to our refresh documentation. And then, specifically for this hackathon, worldcoin.org/Paris23 will give you information on our $20,000 worth of bounties, documentation, template repositories, everything you need to get your share of those bounties. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, our last partner for today, I want to bring on Tadeo to talk about Maker. Please welcome him on stage.
Hi, everyone. Do I have? Yes, perfect. All right. I'm Tadeo. I am DevRel at Phoenix Labs, part of the Maker community. Now, let me ask a quick question. Who knows what Maker is? Quick show of hands. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, who knows what we've been building in the last 6 months? Yeah, expectable. Okay. Who knows what's going on in governance at Maker? There we go. Oh, nice. Okay, perfect. Okay, so for everyone that doesn't know, Maker is one of the oldest lending protocols in DeFi. Our principal objective has been to increase the supply of DAI, DAI being the biggest decentralized stablecoin in the ecosystem. Users have been able to do this by providing collateral and getting a loan with a predictable rate. And I want to talk to you about that today. So what are predictable rates? So I think everyone's accustomed to variable rates in DeFi. Every block, they can change without problem. But the difference is that Maker, that doesn't happen. We have governance-defined rates. Which means through an open and transparent process, everyone knows when that rate will change and also what the value of the new rate will be. Why is that good? Well, predictability. And the important thing here is, for the people that didn't put their hands up about what we've been doing the last 6 months, is we've been expanding and innovating the ways that people can interact with DAI and its predictable rates. So, a couple of use cases depending on what you'd like to do. If you're a borrower, you can now borrow DAI using Spartland, our new lending market. You can use ETH or any staked ETH derivative as a collateral and mint DAI at a predictable rate. If you're a depositor or you're looking for a yield, you can use SDAI. SDAI is the ERC 4626, so the bold token, representation of the DAI savings rate module. It's a way for Maker to pass on the profits from the protocol as yield to every DAI holder that interacts with it. We also have, for builders and protocols, we have conduits. Conduits are the way for your protocol to have Maker as the ultimate liquidity provider. These are standard interfaces, adapters, if you like to call them, connecting Maker with the rest of the ecosystem, being able to move funds around. And I'm not going to bore you with my lovely diagrams, but then what I really want you to take away from this is conduits are extremely simple to design, actually to implement. We want to abstract all the complexity away of integrating with Maker, leave that to us, and for you to be able to enjoy us and our liquidity. So, prices. We have 20,000 DAI available in different categories. Main one is Maker conduits. The winning team will get 5,000 DAI. The second will get 1,000 DAI. And then for everyone else that actually does use conduits or builds on conduits, they'll be splitting a 2,000 DAI reward. Similar to SDAI, the winning team will get 5,000 DAI, 1,000 DAI for the second winning team, and then for the rest, we'll be splitting out a pool price reward among the people that integrate SDAI. Remember, it's a 4626 token. They can easily integrate in your projects. Last but not least, any project supporting Spark or Maker ecosystem for that matter is eligible to win a 2,000 DAI reward. And if you do something that actually benefits the ecosystem, there's also 1,000 DAI pool price to be split. So with that, I leave you. Thank you so much. And if anything, please come to talk to me. Everyone that doesn't know what's happening in Maker governance, I'm here. See me later. Thank you.
Awesome. Please give our partners another round of applause for all the things that they're talking about. You can see all those details again very soon. Now, next up, what I want to do is take some time to interview Juan Benet. Juan Benet is one of the founders and the founder of Protocol Labs, which you may know is the company and the organization behind Filecoin and IPFS. We're going to talk about a lot of things. So without further ado, let's welcome Juan on stage. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
You've been a regular at a lot of our events, which is exciting because you have so much context about how everything is going. So what I want to do for today is talk about a handful of things. We're going to talk about all the things that you're seeing are interesting. Let's talk about how do we do things about startups. Let's cover all the things that you are potentially...
So Kartik, tell us, what are the most interesting problems that you've seen solved in the last couple of years?
Fuck. I thought I was interviewing you. All right, we'll get there. Okay. one of the interesting things, at least from my perspective, is that having been down this for the last 6 years, I get to see what the progress is on the developer side. The most obvious thing I would say is we have seen DevTools just get infinitely better. I remember 4 years ago, you would spend half the time at a hackathon just getting set up. And now you can click clone a repo, and it just magically works. Not just for basic dApps. I think the best part is, I think we just kind of saw with a lot of our partners, we're actually making hard things easy too. Like ZK proofs are getting simpler. I don't have to know effectively what is happening behind the scenes. If I can just remember the guy in pickle costume, I get to write stuff in TypeScript. So I count that as a win. Obviously, a big thing is scalability. From just seeing everything getting clogged from the launch of CryptoKitties to where we are now with all these L2s, everybody deploying on OP Stack. I think we've definitely gone to a few thousand transactions per second. Visa is somewhere between 8,000 and 50, I believe. And so that's going well. And I would say largely, the other thing will be overall, it is a lot more normal to say that things are on-chain these days. Whether it's the convenience or whether you want to call it UX or just how cheap it is, I think on-chain is becoming common. What do you think?
Great job. What do I think? So I think we solved a bunch of super interesting problems. From my view, the entire space has managed to build in the last few years an entire financial infrastructure that is self-standing, using cryptoeconomic incentives to now do much more financial processing than the traditional wire network, than the European wire network, and so on. And we can now do microtransactions and local payments and microloans and so on. And so we have stood up basically a decentralized financial infrastructure for the world that nobody owns, and it's a big, big deal.
That's a win.
Yeah.
That's massive progress. Well,
now I think that where we haven't done as well is in consumer applications, right? So when you think about the applications that you use on a day-to-day basis, how many of the applications you're using today in your daily life are fully Web3 powered? Like probably very few, right? So when you think about communication tools like chat or messaging or things like Discord, when you think about forums or even the tools that we use to produce our software like GitHub and so on, it's like how this entire conversation is going to end up in a video platform. That video platform is centralized and so on, likely. So from a consumer standpoint, in our day-to-day lives, most of our products haven't yet moved over to Web3. And so that's where I think we need to go next, which is like we spent the last few years building this really solid infrastructure and financial system. Now we have to bridge it over to consumer applications so we can get most of the applications on the internet actually using the Web3 primitives and have like the right structure.
Okay, so I mean, that's interesting. So that, in a way, okay, do you think that contradicts the common statement that blockchains are not databases? I hear you're saying everything should be more on-chain. Is that the same interpretation, or?
Yeah, I think so. So I think blockchains are databases, but they're databases that have this strong set of decentralization guarantees about them. Nobody should control them. You should have public verifiability to how you can get something included in a chain, who gets rights to change what part of the database. And so they're not, like traditional database that whoever the admins are get to rewrite all the stuff. It's instead a public shared database. Now, unfortunately, the blockchains that so far have been built under extremely tight scalability constraints. We're finally starting to open up the bottleneck, but it's nowhere close to being able to deal with the scale of use that modern consumer applications require, right? So think of something like Twitter or YouTube, and think of being able to process all of the operations and something like that. Think of being able to build a social network entirely on top of these Web3 systems. Like that's where we're headed.
But does that mean you're saying the scalability solutions we have are just not sufficient, or they are not solving the same or addressing the same problem?
Yeah, not sufficient. So I think maybe a little bit of both. There are some problems that the current scalability structures don't quite get you there. Like many of you builders are gonna try today and tomorrow, your hacks will end up invariably needing a bunch of centralized infrastructure providers in order to pull off the kinds of programs that you want to build. And at every moment there, I think like, oh, damn, like this is still Web 2. Now you have to think about how do you move that into Web 3? And that's kind of the missing set of pieces. So some of it is, think of like the back-end services and back-end data processing pipelines and so on. We need to build infrastructure for that. I call that kind of compute over data networks. And the other part is just the raw scalability. Like the entire industry right now has been pushing really hard for scalability, and we're now getting to hundreds of thousands or maybe millions of transactions per second. I think we need to hit not billions, but trillions of transactions per second. Start
Wait,
thinking
what?
in like, yeah, start thinking in levels of, all tweets going through some kind of blockchain infrastructure. Like we need to hit that kind of scalability.
Per second collectively, not on a single instance, I assume.
So collectively as the entire industry, but I do think you can get to this kind of level in kind of one tree. So if you think of Ethereum with the set of L2s as starting to form a tree, think of that programmatically being able to expand to be able to deal with the demand of block space. Plus, you need to be able to do clear transactions way faster than kind of the current block time. You need to be able to do operations that are sub-second. So think of traditional data centers, traditional operations. You want to be able to do scalable, high-throughput database updates, basically, within a data center at sub-second speeds. Once we can unlock that, then you can get the broad base set of applications rewritten in that Web3 landscape. So like that's kind of the blocker between where we are today and the free internet that we're all working towards, right? So this entire movement started with a goal of building these new primitives, new foundational infrastructure to build a better rights-oriented, human-controlled, human data preserving internet. In order to get there, we need to build that level of scalability so that any developer can target the cloud or can target the Web3 cloud, can target the decentralized cloud. So think about it that way.
I mean, it's a very, I would say, not contradictory, I would say.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
Yes, contrarian is the word I was looking for. We don't think about everything. I mean, even Web 2 isn't thinking about having databases be optimized for this scale. So that seems like now that you explain it, I feel like, okay, this makes sense. If you're trying to replace something or offer a built alternative, it's got to be at least marginally better, more than marginally better. And in context, this makes a lot of sense. How does computing over data come into play here?
Yeah, so when you think about modern services, some amount of the operation happens in the client side. So think of like in your phone or your browser, some operations happen there. Some operations happen when you submit a request, and there's some little bit of business logic that happens. A lot of that has been now built in kind of blockchain structures today. But a huge fraction of the computation happens machine to machine afterwards. It happens as part of background processing. So think of like if you upload a video to YouTube, YouTube has to like rescale that video. It has to post-process it. It has to apply filtering. It has to figure out the metadata. It has to update a bunch of feeds. It has to push it to all the subscribers. There's an enormous amount of processing that happens behind the scenes. And all of that kind of computing infrastructure today in our industry is still happening in a fully centralized Web 2 context. We need to get all of that kind of stuff to be able to be operating over a normal Web 3 decentralized infrastructure. And so we need to get like the computational primitives to be able to do that kind of processing.
What's missing in that primitive? Is it just having the sheer capacity to set up these pipelines, or are we waiting for something to be invented?
I think one part of it is being able to do kind of like job scheduling, or kind of being able to run kind of what normally would be in like a web server, but as services that are blockchain powered and that nobody runs or controls, that you can kind of run in the network. And that includes a lot of computation, so you can't put it in the modern kind of consensus throughput. You should be able to kind of job schedule through that. So think of like Kubernetes style operation, but over in this kind of decentralized setting. So that's one component. I think a separate component is being able to do just like these large scale data pipelines. So being able to define a job that you want to run over some data, you apply some function over that data, you compute the output, and you kind of feed back the output into the network. So I think those two things are gonna, and kind of a broader scalability primitives are going to get built out over the next couple of years.
I think effectively Kubernetes is a pretty good explanation because we know how to visualize that, and you can set up all these nodes and clusters and run arbitrary code. So that actually would be cool. I mean, the more you kind of say it becomes, I mean, it's clicking to me, and it's becoming more obvious that maybe this is one of the reasons why I haven't seen a lot of good consumer apps. It's because we get to not fully replace every part of that stack with something that we think is better in terms of decentralization. But what's the prediction on how long it takes us to get to trillions of transactions per second?
Yeah, so I think we'll probably have the proofs of concept of this and the first versions of this kind of architecture live in the next couple of years. And then from there, we'll probably have the first applications that are going to push like all of their operations on top of these things, kind of in the year or 2 years after that. So I think that within 3 to 4 years, we might see the first fully native Web3 powered social network or something like that, or game like an MMO or something like that, that can just run completely on decentralized infrastructure. So not next year, not the year after that, but this infrastructure is going to come into play. Then those use cases will appear, and that will push the scalability up. So I think hitting trillions probably 5 or 6 years out, but I think the tech will be there in 2 to 3 years.
Now that's a bold move. Let's see if it plays off.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about a couple of technical things that you think could use improvement. I guess one obvious thing that most people kind of don't realize that a lot of the things that blockchains also enable are just economic benefits in sandboxing. So anything kind of that you think is interesting as a theme that people are not experimenting enough with?
Yeah, so one of the most promising and valuable things of this entire space is the ability to create new funding structures or new governance structures around how humans and groups organize. So this means new kinds of ways of organizing people, organizing groups, and so on. And this is where we have the capability of creating new kinds of structures. So like DAOs are an example of this, but we need many more such mechanisms to do things like way better public funding, public goods funding, or network governance structures that can coordinate us into building way better infrastructure and services and systems for society as a whole. So I realized a couple of years ago that if crypto keeps growing at the trajectory it's had for the last 10 years, and we can get some good public funding primitives into the network, crypto could be funding science at the scale of nation states. So just for everybody's knowledge, like some science funding around the world is kind of spotty. Some countries do a lot more funding than others. The US is one of the countries that funds the most. And usually this gets divided into different agencies around the world. The kind of funding scale is kind of around, in the tens of billions of dollars per year for each of these countries. So you can maybe add all of them up and land on something like $100 to $200 billion a year for all of science funding worldwide. So if you think of like a nation scale, so like single billion or tens of billions per year, crypto could do that. Crypto could actually fund science and R&D at a global scale. We're just missing the right primitives to be able to organize that kind of funding structure, and the long-term feedback loop of showing that impact is returning value back to the entire crypto space so that can create a feedback loop. So that's the kind of thing that I think is extremely exciting about crypto as a whole, like these new kinds of foundational primitives for organizing groups. And all of this is kind of within the broader community of public goods funding. So you might have heard from like groups like Gitcoin or Network Goods or Optimism with RetroPGF and so on. So all of these are kind of super interesting experiments for how do we use crypto-native primitives to build these new kinds of funding structures. And I think that's one of the most exciting areas of the entire space.
No, I mean, that is actually measurable progress too, because we can unlock so much and you can create these special interests groups that care about specific advancements. Maybe for the hackers too in the audience, is what you said a request for better tools, or we need better economic models?
It's
How
kind
do we
of both.
translate that to actionable things?
So we have a lot of ideas. So maybe 2 years ago, we were missing ideas. And so now there's been a ton of conversation over a bunch of conferences and prototypes and so on. So we now have reached a point where we need to implement a lot of these ideas and test them. So we need both implementation of these into tools that we can use to run these kinds of protocols. And we need experiments that are actually going to try this and run this and collect data and see how well it works and what are the problems, like what parts does it get right, what parts does it not get right, so we can refine and improve this kind of structure. The really cool thing is like we're now reaching in the tens to hundreds of millions of dollars deployed through this kind of public goods funding oriented structures. So things like Gitcoin, things like the Network Goods Group, and the RetroPGF in Optimism have together collectively deployed, I think, over $100 million now. And so like, all of that is
more.
using, yeah, and probably more. And so all of that is using public goods funding oriented structures. And so think of that as creating a new class of organizational structures that can help us build a better future without having to appeal to like just the traditional private funding routes.
That one makes sense, and I think that's like actually a good way to think about how large groups or even small groups can actually coordinate this. A couple things you said about kind of compute and scalability, are these kind of things that you believe are specific to the Filecoin ecosystem, or kind of what's the context here?
No, this is everywhere. So I think this is for the crypto world as a whole. If we can build these kinds of structures, then the whole world would benefit. And I don't know, like I tend to not see a lot of the ecosystems as kind of as fragmented as maybe most people might perceive. There's a lot of branding from every different group and so on, and so it might feel like
tribalism.
Yeah, tribal, different communities and so on. But in reality, most of these groups are extremely collaborative. Their shared resources and shared code powers the whole ecosystem, and so there's an enormous amount of collaboration. So as an example, like the IPFS ecosystem, which sort of like includes the Filecoin ecosystem, creates a ton of value for the Ethereum ecosystem. Like Liquid2P, which is something that came out of IPFS, now powers Ethereum 2 and powers Polkadot and powers Celestia and a bunch of other networks. And then even something like Filecoin started as, it's sort of like the OG Ethereum L2, like early on in 2016.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So we originally wanted to ship Filecoin as an Ethereum, what we called at the time a virtual network on top of Ethereum. So like the concept of L2s wasn't around yet.
What year is this?
This is 2016 or so. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, but we calculated the throughput and block space that Filecoin was going to need, and it was about like 90 to 95% of the entire block space of the Ethereum base layer. So we couldn't do that, and so we had to like then create a separate L1. But now we're seeing all of that reshuffling, and so my prediction is that we'll see lots of chains and lots of systems totally restructure and reshuffle themselves as the developer experience changes, as communities change and evolve and collaborate and so on. Like what we just saw this week, Celo went from an L1 into an Ethereum L2. And so we'll likely see a lot of that kind of thing happening.
And I totally agree. I guess on that theme, okay, so let's say these predictions are good on timelines. In 5 years, we see 1 trillion transactions per second, which means anything you can imagine is possible on chain. How should founders be thinking about building companies? And this is obviously the best time to start.
Yeah, so I like thinking about this in terms of maybe a set of stages that builders should kind of think about. When you're in a hackathon context, and this is one of the reasons why I love hackathons as much and where you spend so much time and thought working with builders through hackathons. Hackathons give you this great environment where you can learn a ton, you can push your skills, you can explore a bunch of different areas, but you have a limited time to be able to make your thing, complete it, and deliver it to be judged, right? And you have to also get good at presenting it. You have to solve an interesting problem for somebody. You have to learn how to sell it to somebody. And so all of that forces you to go through the entire kind of like product design validation loop in one go, like in a very fast pace. And it teaches you a ton about lots of different things, and you'll get a ton of feedback. So that's kind of an example stage that builders should go through. So when you're first kind of thinking about potential ideas, one part of that is get to being able to build like a minimum version of the product, like a prototype or something like that. Hackathon is a great example for that. It'll force you to start validating your ideas. Now, at some point, you'll find something that you think is compelling and interesting, and you think that it potentially has legs and you're getting interesting feedback from others that maybe there's something here, maybe this could turn into a startup of some kind, whether it's a startup company or a startup network or some other kind of project. At that point, what you want to do is refine the idea and look deeper into it. Try to validate it more. Think ahead to what it could turn into. Think about who would the users be, what are the early communities you could work with, and so on. So it's kind of a deeper validation step. And that will start informing what needs to become your first minimum viable product, right? So you go from like early ideas, early prototypes, into something that you think will actually work. That's like the key word there is viable, meaning some product that you can actually create for users and for whom you're solving a problem and for whom are going to then start relying on your thing. Once you have that in place, you have the trajectory for a startup. And again, this could be a startup company, it could be a startup network, or a startup open source project, or something like that. The mode really depends on what the kind of thing that you're building is. And at that point, you kind of want to start thinking about what's the scale of this thing? How much funding are you going to require to build this? How many other people do you need to work with to organize this? And so for the startup company trajectories, there's kind of fundraising as an option. Or I guess for all these trajectories, there's fundraising. It just changes structure. Like in open source, you're probably raising grant funding. In startups, you're probably raising venture capital or something like that. In crypto networks, you're sort of somewhere in between. And that pushes you into kind of the next stage, which is formulating this as a company or a network or something like that, and then raising capital, going through an accelerator or something like that. So right now, where all the builders here are, I would strongly encourage you to be experimenting with this hackathon and future hackathons to find an idea and get to validating something that could turn into a minimum viable product. You won't get to your full MVP through a hackathon, but you might get to something that'll let you take that next step. And so think about that sort of broader trajectory.
As someone who's kind of been through the traditional funding route and also the interface with the decentralized world, any common bad advice that you think is given out for building startups that does not really apply to, bad as in it doesn't apply to Web3 companies?
Yeah, so the traditional startup ecosystem has to be extremely competitive and extremely closed and private because the nature of those kinds of products are that all of the IP is very closed and highly proprietary.
More zero-sum.
Very zero-sum oriented. And this whole ecosystem is extremely positive sum oriented, highly collaborative. Most of what everybody's building is open source. You can take it and fork it and try something else. And so you end up with a much more collaborative environment where all of the groups building, whether it's like L1s or L2s or services or products or whatever, tend to collaborate dramatically more. So one of the big things that I kind of see is you want to coordinate and cooperate as much as you can, and you want to be very open with what you're doing. You want to create a community early on and build a broader community of users, developers, and participants that are going to help your product or your system grow. And that's very different than traditional startups.
Makes sense in hindsight. Well, I want to close off by, well, in this case, asking the same question you asked me. You've been here in this space for almost a decade, maybe more. Where would you say we're in this space? And I guess zooming out, how do you think we rate ourselves on the progress we've made?
Yeah, so look, I keep it maybe short and sweet here. I think that this community has built some of the most compelling and important infrastructure for humanity broadly. Especially right now, the finance stack is really solid, but the broader communication stack and the broader internet stack is following. And now that all these primitives are here, you as builders get to shape the next big thing, the next important set of components. So it's really up to you. It's really up to what you want to build and what you make and what you scale that will define the future. So go make it a good one and hack on really cool stuff.
Amazing advice. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, last but not least, let's just quickly go through all the prizes. $500,000 in prizes to be given out for everybody. 1inch Filecoin Gnosis Chain are giving $20,000 in prizes. MetaMask, BNet Maker are also giving $20,000 in prizes, and so is Polygon, Wallet Connect, and WorldCoin. You can see all those details on our website. Then Airstack, ApeCoin, Biconomy, Cartesi, Celo, and Chainlink. EES, Ethereum Foundation, Hyperlane, Mantle, Mask, and Near. And Neil Neon, EVM, Safe, Sysmo, Starknet, The Graph, and Numa are giving 10,000 in prizes each. And so are Unlimit, XMTP, Zeta Chain, ZK-Bob, and ZK Sync. And then lastly, Aragon, XLR, TFNS, Flashbots, Lit Protocol, Noun Style, Push Protocol, and QuickNote are giving $5,000 in prizes each. There's a lot of stuff here, and I'll make it very quick. All that information is on the website. You can see specifically all the details for how you can qualify all these prizes, what counts, what doesn't count. You can get even sample code to base everything off of and get quickly started. So check out ethglobal.com/Paris for all the prize information, and you can select which one you're going for as you submit your project. So with that, pace yourself. We really don't want this thing to be exhausting for you. We want all of you to have fun this weekend, and this is very much about learning and experimentation. So try the craziest thing you can think of that you are excited about. And with that, happy hacking. Thanks, everybody.